Hello, welcome everybody to this hands-on Wikidata and lexicographical data workshop with Leah and Nicolas. We're quite excited for this one. It's the one session that's closest to a workshopy feel at the conference. So really hope you'll enjoy this. Hope you enjoyed your break as well. Thanks for everybody who's been sharing their mic. So this presentation will show us the new developments of Wikidata, especially in supporting the linguistic information. And we'll hear a little bit about the structure of Wikidata's data, and we'll also learn a little bit about editing both a Wikidata item and a theme. So please enjoy.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Leah, working in the Wikidata development team for communication with the community. And here's Nicolas, a very active editor on Wikidata. And so the goal of this session is to introduce you to Wikidata and how to edit and create items and themes that are the two forms of data that we're interested in today. So if you're already very experienced in Wikidata, it's likely that you're not going to learn a lot during this session, or who knows. But what you can do is definitely help the newcomers and maybe answer the questions on the pad that is related to this session. We're also going to answer questions there, so support each other. So we're going to start with a very brief introduction to Wikidata, but you can also watch the awesome presentation from Mohammed that happened on day one of the Celtic Knot Conference 2020. And after that, Nicolas is going to show us how to create and modify items and themes on Wikidata. And then we will show you a few tools that can be very helpful for you to improve the content of Wikidata in your language. And finally, we're going to take a few questions, and we're just going to finish with like some tips or good pages where you can find more help about Wikidata. So let's get started. We would like to have a look at a Wikidata item now. So this is Wikidata. In case you've never been there, it looks like your usual normal wiki, except it's a bit different. We're going to have a look at the structure of an item quickly, but just as a reminder, Wikidata is one of the Wikimedia projects. It stores information in a structured form and in a multilingual form, which means there is plenty of Wikipedias, but there is only one Wikidata. However, you can access the data in there in your language, ideally on the same website. And the goal is to provide structured data not only for Wikipedia, but also for all kind of other tools or websites that would need it. So let's have a look at this item about Limerick, wonderful city in Ireland. So right now, the interface of Nicolas is in English, but at any point, he could switch it to another language, for example, French or anything else, and you would see that the content would immediately adapt to switch to this language. But maybe we're going to stay in English for now. And the reason why you can do that is that the content of each element of data in Wikidata is provided in plenty of languages. And you can do that with this first section that we see at the top of the page. That is called term box, and that contains the labels, description, and also aliases of the thing that we're talking about. And in that case, we're going to have the name Limerick in English, a short description, and we're going to have the same in plenty of other languages. They are all not displayed here, but you can see all of them in a big list if you want. We're going to come back to that later in a moment, and you can already see that some data is missing there. Some descriptions are missing in a lot of languages. Maybe that's something to improve for later if you know this language, for example. So this is how the data of Wikidata can be multilingual, because each single element of data has this thing on Wikidata. But in order to describe properly what Limerick is, what is it that we're talking about, we need more things, and we need the statements. So the statements are the core content of Wikidata. We're going to describe what this is, we're going to answer questions. And for example, we have the statement that has a property that is called instance of, and it's basically answering the question, what is it? And here we can see that Limerick is a city. And you can notice that city, it's not just a word, it's actually a link. And this link can access another Wikidata item, that is the item about a city, so much more general than what Limerick is, providing the same kind of information. And this is one of the main powers of Wikidata, is that we connect concepts with each other and not only strings of text. But let's go back to Limerick. We have all kind of useful information here. We have some pictures that are directly coming from Wikimedia Commons. We have the name in a native language, in that case, it's actually useful. We have the country. We have different information about the administrative situation of Limerick. We have coordinates, of course, so we can put it on a map, and so on and so on. We have, for example, the population. And here you can see that the value, so the answer to the question, what's the population? So in that case, it is not another item, but it is a number. And we have several values because the population was calculated at several points in time. And for this, we're going to use an extra piece of information that is called qualifier. And in that case, point of time is giving us some extra information that this number was counted at a certain point in time. Just below, you can see that some statements have references. So just like on Wikipedia, on Wikidata, we love references. References can come from various sources. Some part of the data has been imported from Wikipedia, but ideally, the references should be external sources that come from a trustable source of information. You know the drill. It seems that on the Limerick item, there is still work to do. Now you know what to do after the session, maybe adding a few references. That's one of the many actions that can be very useful to improve the quality of Wikidata. So I'm not going to get into all statements in detail. The next one that I wanted to show you are the external identifiers. This is a special part of Wikidata because now we're connecting to other databases that propose similar content about our favorite topic, Limerick. For example, we have various national libraries here, various, how we call it in the jargon, authority control databases that also contain information about Limerick. And you can see all of them that we have here, and you can see as a value the unique identifier that they have. And the great thing is that we are linking to them, to their unique identifier, but Wikidata also has a unique identifier. I don't know if you noticed at the top of the page and also in the URL, but all the Wikidata items are identified not by their name, like on Wikipedia, but by a unique QID. That's not really important for you if you're browsing the pages, but it's very important for other websites who want to link to Wikidata, because then they have this unique identifier and that they know that forever the item about Limerick is going to be this one, even if, I don't know, maybe the name of Limerick changes one day or something like this. So back to the external identifiers, we have a bunch of them. And then on the page, at the bottom or on the right, depending how your screen is, you're going to have all the site links to Wikipedia. Because this is where also the site links linking to a language version of Wikipedia to another are stored inside Wikidata. And there's not only Wikipedia, of course, there's also the other projects. So that's basically what a Wikidata item looks like. So I didn't show you directly, but there are also plenty of edit buttons that you can use directly to edit one. But maybe it would be even more interesting if we would create one from scratch. What do you think, Nicolas?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you want to create?
A lot of things to create, but to be in the theme of the Celtic Knot, I thought it could be useful to create a Breton dictionary. So this one, actually, which is an online dictionary in Breton and French, and doesn't have an item. So the first thing is to check it doesn't exist, but then you can click here on the left, create a new item, choose a label. In this case, it's called term office. And in English, you can say dictionary of Breton, for instance. You can put aliases if you want, and just create. And then you have very skeleton. It's almost empty. There's only in English, but you can add in other languages. It's a wiki. You can edit, change it afterwards if you want. In this case, it's the same name in all language. French, Italian, for instance. And you can add statements, as we said. So instance of online dictionary, choose the right one, obviously. You can give, for instance, the official website. And you've got a warning, oh, you need to say something more. In this case, what is the language? Language, in this case, it's Breton, Celtic language, but actually you have two URLs because this one is in Breton, but you can have the same thing in French. So you can add again almost the same, but for French. And again, you can precise what language is it? French, sorry. And you can add more and more data if you want. It suggests you relevant data. Not always all relevant, but it can help you choose the right one. In this case, for dictionary, I'm not sure there's a lot of things to add here. Language, yes, of course, language of work, Breton and French. And I can do a lot more, but just to show the basics. And you can add, if there's a link on a Wikipedia or any wiki project, you can add it. In this case, there's not, sadly, not yet, at least. But that's why I created it, because it was not created before. So, for instance, yes, you can say that for very first try. I don't know if there's a question. Someone is coughing in the chat because instead of typing every time by hand, instead there's a tool, a gadget, which is called VIP label, and I can put it and say select the language I want. I can add it some if I want, and send in one batch. And there's a lot of tools that can help. We'll talk a bit about later, but that's easier like that. If I update, now you have it in Corsican, Danish, and many more languages. You can parameter it if you want. So that's it for the basics.
Awesome. So, of course, there are plenty of other things to do on Wikidata. That was the basic demo of creating one item. But of course, there are plenty of tools that allow you to work more efficiently on Wikidata. For example, create a bunch of items all together. That's not what we're going to talk about during this session. But if you want to know more, feel free to ping us. So that was the creation of an item, which is something that is describing a concept in Wikidata. In that case, a dictionary. We now entered it. But someone told me that we can also describe words and languages in Wikidata. Nicolas, can you show us a bit how it works?
Yes, I just want to explain a bit more the difference between concept items and lexemes, which are basically words. For instance, here you can choose the cat, which is the house cat, domestic feline, and you have in different language. So all the language are together in one concept. When you describe lexeme, you are in only one language. And I'm looking for cat L7. And you see it's not a Q anymore, it's a L item entity, only for English. And if you want in French and Breton, that's another one. And you have same statements and things like that, but a bit different. And you create new item there, and just under you have create new lexemes. So I will do a lexeme in Breton, which is not cat, but squirrel, which is actually called wood cat from the wood, for some reason, Breton language. So it's cas what? You type the word itself, you say in what language it is, in this case Breton, and you say the lexical category. So in this case it's a noun, part of speech, and again create. And yes, I did one edit. And you can add statements. In this case, I can say it's I'm not used to create it in English, sorry. Combines, not composed, sorry. And you can say it's first cas, which is the Breton noun for cat in this case. And also quat, which is Breton noun for woods. And it's very useful for automatic tool to retrieve things like that. You can add more statements like, oh, it is in the Term Office dictionary that I just created before, coincidentally, described by reference work, Term Office, Dictionary of Breton, Tenon. And here you have specific statements for senses and forms. So for instance, I can say it's in Breton, it's animal, and in French, animal, and in English, and you can add what we call a glose, which is basically a small definition, animal, publish. And here I can add a statement, I forget the name in English. How do you help, Leah? How do you call this property described by a concept? Nervous stage. You know what? When you forgot something on Wikidata, you just look how it's done on another one. In this case, described by source, derived from, item for this sense. Silly me. I knew it, but item for this sense, if you want. What? Demo effect. Item for this sense. Okay, for some reason. Squirrel. Land animal? Is this one? No, not this one. Only one R maybe in English? No? Okay. Red squirrel, yes. Not exactly this one, but not only this one, but you can put item for this sense, which is very useful because then you can query all the lexeme pointing to this concept and do things like dictionary or anything. And then you can take the main lemma and put it as a form and say this is the singular. And you can add it again in plural or anything you want. Especially for Breton, there's a lot of different forms.
Nicolas, sorry to jump in from the backstage, but just to bring in a comment from YouTube. Some people are saying it would be nice if you enlarged your font so that it's easier to see on the stream. And
Like that? Yeah, thanks.
hopefully that's better. We'll see about the comments, but I think this is good. Thank you. I'll go now.
Yeah, you're totally right. But if we enlarge too much, we don't see much. So that's why I try to find the best trade-off. So yeah, this is it. How to create quickly a lexeme. Obviously, you can do much more. You can add references. You can add more information. In this case, I did put some kind of reference described by source, but I can go much further. I will do tomorrow probably or later on, but just to give you the main idea. Yes, and that's it. And since I add some combined information, I can already do other things like going on a tool which is called the CraftBuild or something. Lucas Werkmeister GitHub, this one, which is a tool that automatically, again, enlarge, sorry, retrieve for one item the etymology in this case. So you have Aberystwyth in English, which comes from Aberystwyth in Cymric in Welsh, which itself comes from Aber and Iswyth in Welsh. And since we created Squirrel, we can do the same. In this case, I say start, and ta-da! So I just created today this one, Casquat, which is combined the orange arrow. It's come from CAD and Quad. And CAS was previously described. I didn't do it today, but it's there. And you see that CAS come from Celtic and European roots, and you have the etymology of the word, and you can change it here. And you can do other properties, but this is the two property for etymology coming from and derives from and combine other words. You can share the link. And that's it for first cool tool, which is, I think, very interesting. If you know some Russian, there's a lot of thing around the word water in Slavic and Russian and a lot of languages where you can find very interesting example, very more and more arrows on data. Another tool I like is called Ordia. So this is the main page, ordiatoolforge.org. You have some example of displaying lexemes in better way on anything you want. But what I like especially is going here and languages, and you can see every the statistic for every lexeme existing right now in Wikidata. And you can see that, for instance, there's a lot of work that has been done in Russian, which is the first one. And then you have English, Latin, Hebrew, Basque. Yeah, Basque. Swedish, French, yada, yada, yada. And some more information on how much they have completion of data, number of form for each lexeme, number of senses, number of lot of things. And yeah, this is a good dashboard to have a general view on lexeme on Wikidata, and you can look at it. There's a lot of other things you can look at it. That's it. And then there's other tools, more fun tools. For instance, I love this one, which was first done by Leah, and then it was redone in JavaScript by Nikki. Thank you, both of you. And it's a small tool to practice your German article, because as you may know or not, in German there's several gender, which is called der, die, das, which is the name of the tool, quite obviously. And you can select for you have the words. It's a lexeme in Wikidata, and you can select every time, is it der, die, or das? Das Feuer, die Sportwissenschaft, das Druck, whatever. No, it was not. And every time you have a point, yeah, it's good, it's not bad. Das was, I'm bad. D, there, no, whatever. Just to show you what's, yeah, you can see and practice it. And since it's based on Lexim and it's free online code, you can do it for your language if you want. It already exists for French, German, and Danish, I think. And you can go on Wikidata lexicographical portal, and you have tools here. Just to make sure I don't say the Adidas. So yes, it's in the original one was in German, but there's also French and Danish. So you can, if you want to do the same for any language, as soon as you know a bit of code, but not much to change, and there's lexims in Wikidata, you can do cool stuff like that. There's a lot of other tools. We'll share again this link. Yeah, there's a lot of tools. The one I saw earlier, you can see here a big etymology or a lot of things. We won't show them all. Just try by yourself, ask question on the pad or anything so we can answer. Just one last, it's not exactly a tool, but when you are, for everything on Wikidata, when you are on your own user page, it's very important to put the Babel box in your code. And you do edit source, and you saw this first line here. When you say, oh, I speak French and Breton and English, German, Italian, etc., etc. And this is very important because it tells other people what language you speak, but also when you go to an item like we had Limerick just before, the languages that are displayed here is the one that you specified in your Babel box. So it's very important to localize your interface. We are mostly on time. And we did most of the presentation. So now if you have some question or anything, please go on.
Feel free to ask all the questions you may have either on the YouTube chat or directly on the pad. Now we jump to the more like interactive part of the session. So really, if you have any question coming to your mind, feel free to ask it now. Otherwise, you can also ask it later. It's all fine. We actually already had a question that was asked earlier that was about lexims. And the question was, do you need to have references when you create a new lexeme? And if so, how do you do it? Where do you add it?
Yeah, I answered a bit, but I will go on again because on this one that I did much earlier, which is cat in Breton, you see that I entered two different dictionaries and saying exactly what page you can find this word. So page 378 for this dictionary and 56 for this lexical dictionary. And you even say, oh, in this dictionary it was written like that with just a Z, and now in modern Breton it's ZH, both letters. But we don't put much more references. This is already good, but as always, you can put specific references, especially for etymology. Can be important to say, oh, we believed it came from that word, but actually someone else says something else. And there's, oh yes, you can put grammatical gender, of course, I forgot before. And here you can see lexeme with all the forms, singular, plural, another plural, because yes, Breton has several plural, singular again, feminine, masculine, everything.
Do you have a reference in hand that you can, where you could quickly show how to add one?
Add a new form?
A new reference.
A new reference. Sure. For instance, I'm pretty sure this book says this, so I can say add reference. Study in, and I can say in this book. There's two. Which one is it again? This one. You see that when you don't enter a description in English for this case, it's much harder to distinguish the two. Okay, like this. And here is a reference, and that's how it's supposed to be done most of the time.
Awesome. We have more questions coming from people who clearly already are imagining entering languages into Wikidata, which is great. One of these questions is, how do you add the Celtic mutation, the mutations of the Celtic languages? Can you show us an example, maybe, how you do it in Breton?
Yeah, exactly.
And can you connect them to the senses there as well, was the complete question.
Yes, so for those who don't know, Celtic languages have mutation, which is the first letter of the word changing contextually, more or less, depending on what's before. And you see here, for instance, so it's not cat, it's dog now, and it's starting with a K in unmutated form, the normal form. But then if you go back, you have go down, you have key is becoming gi with a form affected by soft mutation, affected by spirant mutation, and all the forms, singular and plural and everything, are tagged here and what we call grammatical features. Yeah, Breton has mutation, and you see them here. All Celtic language, I think all the 6 has mutation, and you see how it's done for Breton. It's not perfect right now because mutation is complicated, so it's only entered in forms, but we can probably add them also in senses. I'm not sure it works with senses. We have to work a bit more on the structuration and how it works. But yes, you can do it. Lexemes has features for that. And I see on the FFPad the question, is it possible to include pronunciation of the audio files? And here I took, I think it's cat in Russian. Yes, it's cat in Russian. And I think in Russian they put, no, they didn't. Oh, do you know Lexemes where they put, but you put it in the forms. Here you can add the statements, pronunciation, audio file, audio. And just put the file, but I don't remember. Maybe on water, because for some reason Russian people love water. Serbian, Czech, Slovak, voda. Okay, not this one. Or maybe they did it in Serbian.
You can go to L99 if necessary.
Sorry,
L99.
99?
99.
90. Sorry.
99, like the number. Yes.
90. Yeah, of course, 99 Luftballon. So, do we have description here? Yes, we have another file here. I'm not sure if it works. Luftballons. And you have specifically the singular genitive with a S at the end. And if you go down, oh, no, you don't have it. Oh, yes, you have it for the dative Luftballon. So you can have all the pronunciation. Question by Jan, not P443 instead of audio files. I'm not sure which one is which one. P443. Oh yes, just before I said audio, no, it's pronunciation audio. You're totally right. There's a more specific property for that. And you have also IPA, phonetic transcription property for that. There's a lot of property. Just try and see for yourself. Oh, Leah, I don't know if you see Zhao. Very good question.
Very good question, and I have no answer for now because, to be very honest, we're still figuring out how Abstract Wikipedia, which is the new project proposal for the Wikimedia project. I'm not going to get into details about Abstract Wikipedia here. We can discuss about it later around a virtual beer, and we don't know yet how everything is going to fit. But the idea of Wikidata, both the items and the lexeme, is to be reused on other Wikimedia projects or everywhere else, basically. So I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a use of lexicographical data for this project. Not exactly sure how.
Yeah,
I can also answer the question from Jens about free dictionaries and how, if it's considered to upload them on languages. So first of all, maybe it's good to remember that the lexicographical data on Wikidata, just like the rest of the data, is under the license CC0, which means the data that we can include in there has to be either CC0 or public domain. So obviously that already excludes a lot of sources of content, but there are actually a lot of public domain dictionaries. So why not including all the content there? I would say this is the same question as for mass import on Wikidata in general. Yes, we can. But because we can, does that mean that we should? And especially once we do this mass import of tons of data, do we have enough people who can take care of it, who can maintain the content, curate it? What's the impact on the infrastructure of the software and all of these questions? So there are several sides of this, and I think that Wikidata can especially be useful for languages that are a bit underserved on the internet in general, that don't have a lot of content in their language on the internet. And if Wikidata can help highlighting these languages, yes, definitely. But Wikidata remains a community-powered project, which means if we have data, we need to have the people who actually take care of it. So before doing any import, I would suggest to make sure first that we will have people who can take care of it.
Yeah. And right now, I think there was only Russian, Basque, and Latin who did mass import, not that big, and already it was a bit complicated. They stumble about, I know how that works, but how do I align and match it with the current structure of Wikidata? It's not always that easy. So it's always good to have multiple opinions before doing it.
All right. Once again, feel free to send all of your questions our way. In the meantime, I had another question for you, Nicolas. So you showed us some Breton. That's pretty awesome that there is some content in Breton added in Wikidata. Can we enter all the languages in lexemes? How precise can we go when it comes to describing maybe some local dialects or some different form variants of the same language? Can you show us a few examples?
Yes. In the example before, which was Luftballon, you see here, no problem, you say, oh, the language code is DE and it's German, no problem. But not all languages have a language code, and some have a language code which is not yet in Wikidata. So in this case, there's still a solution. For instance, this is Sumerian, and you can add a specific language when you say Miss X. It's to say, oh, there's no language code yet, but you can add the corresponding item, which is the same as this one, Q36790, and you can add anything you want that way. So it's very open to everything. It's a bit hacky, maybe. Here it should be, I guess, SUX or something. It does exist for Sumerian, but because we only have one, that's only that way. And you can put several variants. So this is Sumerian, but written in Latin alphabet, which is maybe not a good idea. And here you have Sumerian written in cuneiform. So this item says cuneiform. So it's not always, it's a bit strange, but you can add every language you want, and you can be as precise as you want in the end. That's it.
Great, awesome. One last question, maybe. Amir is asking how you can see a list of all the lexemes in one language. Are there some easy ways to do that?
There's a lot of ways to do that. I mean, I can talk to you later. If you want, you can do Sparkle queries if you want exactly something specific. But otherwise, the best way is to go to Audia and to just click, for instance, in, let's go to a small language. No, not that small. Oh, too small. Wait. Oh, Britain. It's coincidental. And when you click on the language, you have all the words in that language. You have only the first 10 by default. You can say 2500 or all. It will take a bit of time. I won't click. I don't want my computer to die, but you can see all of them. And again, you can see other data. For instance, you see that most of the words of Britain entered in lexemes are known, some adjective, verbs, and yada, yada, yada. You have all the counts here on Audia.
Awesome, thank you. So I think we're not going to take any more questions, but if you have any, you can continue posting them in the pad and we're going to answer after that. Last question maybe for me, if you go back to Wikidata. So if you are newcomer with Wikidata, you can go to the help portal that is showing you a lot of useful information. You can access it through the menu column on Wikidata. You can also go to this lexicographical data portal and the discussion page that is quite active with people working specifically on this topic. For a more general page on Wikidata, you can have a look at the project chat that you can also access in the menu column. And the cool thing with the project chat is that although the main page is in English, you can also access to various variants of this page in plenty of languages, more or less active, depending on how big the community is, but feel free to revive these pages if you want to ask questions in your own language. On the same page, you can also see a link to the Wikidata Telegram group that is also very useful. People are reacting there, supporting each other. And once again, during this conference, feel free to ping us, feel free to use the part of this session, the Wikidata help desk, if you have any question or need some help. And we'll hopefully see you later on Wikidata.
Thank you. Thank you, Lian, Nicolas. The Wikidata has always been at the heart of the Celtic Knot as a tool of supporting and building languages. So thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise with us. I think very helpful indeed. And yes, like we said, we use the Etherpads to ask more questions and solve more of your problems of using Wikidata and languages. Just a quick note thinking about the next session. It has a little bit of an unusual starting time. It's at 14:20 UTC, not a very sharp time, but hope to see you there. It's a very cool discussion panel about COVID and languages. But for now, thank you again for this presentation from Wikidata Dream Team. Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your conference.
Yeah.